David Burke, better known simply as David, has been in hot water as of late. Having recently been arrested for the murder of Celeste Rivas Hernandez, this singer has been fighting an uphill battle to clear his name and prove the case is anything but a romantic homicide. It's crazy to think that not even 2 years ago, he was on top of the world, collabing with the biggest brands and artists ever. You'd be hard-pressed to find a celebrity downfall as quick as his was. But before we dive into the horrors being talked about today, we need to take a look at who David was prior to everything. David Anthony Burke was born in Queens, New York City on March 28, 2005. His parents, Colleen and Dawood Burke, would later move the family to Houston, Texas. There, David was raised Christian. He was in the church choir, played piano, and listened to exclusively gospel music. It wasn't until age 13 that he decided to explore new genres. Around this time, David started to be homeschooled, which he said led him to live vicariously through experiences he had heard about from his friends. None of them were IRL friends, but by being chronically online, he discovered the world of content creation. He'd start a YouTube channel and upload Fortnite montages, but early on he ran into a problem every creator has faced: copyright. David could not use the music he wanted, so he came up with an ingenious solution: create the music himself. The genres he tended to play around with were indie rock, R&B, and lo-fi. These tracks were released to SoundCloud under the name David, stylized with a 4 and missing an I. That way he could be searched easier. In time, he'd generate a massive following due to hits like You and I, Take Me to the Sun, and Runaway. On July 20th, 2022, he'd release his most famous and infamous song, Romantic Homicide. It was just one of the many things that foreshadowed his horrendous crimes. David has stated that the song was an example of him living vicariously through those aforementioned experiences, but once we get to the timeline portion of this video, you'll see why that's most likely a lie. Once he saw that his music was trending on TikTok, David knew he had a special career on his hands. Luckily for him, the labels Darkroom and Interscope Records had also been observing his success, and decided they wanted to sign him. This kid had no mixtapes or EPs under his belt. His very first extended play, Petals to Thorns, would be released under the label, which is an incredibly rare thing to see since most artists have a handful of EPs before being signed. In 2023, he would even open up for SZA on her tour, all while not having made a single album. SZA, along with Dragon Ball Z, was one of his biggest inspirations, so it truly felt like a full circle moment. Similarly, he was brought on to compose the anthem for the 2025 Fortnite Championship, and he got his own emotes and cosmetics, in addition to creating songs for Invincible and Arcane, two massively popular animated series. To say that David had an incredible beginning to his career would be an understatement. He became a multi-millionaire before he was even able to drink. His fans were plentiful and devoted, and it seemed like everyone was rooting for this guy to be something truly special, but there was something dark and twisted behind David's art that quite frankly many people simply missed. David and Celeste met on social media in January 2022, when the latter was only 11 years old. Now, here's some important details to better illustrate the severity of this somewhat complicated case. For starters, the age gap between the two was about 5 years, with Burke being her senior. Secondly, Celeste was a frequent runaway, which put her in vulnerable situations such as the ones we'd later come to see. Anyway, in November of the following year, according to a statement made by the prosecutors, the pair started to have a sexual relationship. At this point, Burke was 18 years old, while Celeste was just 13. Later in February 2024, detectives from the Riverside County Sheriff's Department would come across a missing persons case, this of course being Celeste. Shortly after beginning their investigation, they found that David's phone number appeared in her phone records, with calls appearing on the 13th or 14th. This led the detectives to speak with him, time, once on the phone and once in person. In both instances, David claimed that he didn't know Celeste was a minor and that she had run away from home. However, a detail that would stick out was when David showed them a yearbook picture of Celeste on his phone, which would later aid in painting the picture of just how close these two had become. About 2 days after the police visited David, Celeste would mysteriously return home, but the relationship she had started with David would not end there. Shortly after this, David allegedly took a trip to her neighborhood and paid a junior high school student who knew her $1,000 to give her a phone he had purchased. This was because her parents had confiscated her phone. In addition to this, the duo would allegedly travel to places like London, Las Vegas, and Texas, and would spend summer weekends at his Hollywood Hills home in 2024. Towards the end of that year, it's reported that the pair had broken up. However, they continued to talk over texts and, given the nature of those messages, had a sexual relationship. 4 months after this, in March 2025, Celeste would send a message to David that read, "All we do is have sex and just hang out. Man, I want more than that for myself." A depressing sentiment that would come to a head on April 22nd, 2025. After getting into a heated argument and Celeste threatening to disclose information pertaining to their relationship that would end his career, the unthinkable occurred, and that was the last time Celeste was known to be alive. David, on the other hand, would be living his best life, releasing music and projects that would capture the eyes and ears of millions. The aforementioned single, romantic Homicide, came out in September 2022, and features now incredibly eerie lyrics that illustrate a frustrated David wanting to kill a romantic partner. With lyrics like, "In the back of my mind you died, and I didn't even cry, not a single tear," and "In the back of my mind I killed you, I didn't even regret it, I can't believe I said it." A year after this, he would release the song Rehab, which featured visuals of David brutally chopping a female character into pieces. An interesting side note for both of these videos was that they were released on September 7th, Celeste's birthday. What seemed to initially be a hook became something of a brand and pattern for him. He would leverage the themes of death and try to push just how graphic his music videos could be. He would also be seen in videos with girls that almost always resembled Celeste in some way or the other. When we dive into David Burke's personal life outside of his relationship and music, we find out that he had a Discord server before he even met her. In this server, he would state that he was obsessed with gore content from a young age, and he'd even prefer to consume that type of media over pornography. A very disturbing and illuminating trait, if you ask me. A few members were aware of Celeste's age, but treated it like a joke. However, the pieces of what was really going on started to show when his personal life bled more into other avenues of content creation. More specifically in December 2023, when he started a live stream with Celeste clearly visible in the background. This would be one of many instances where he'd show her off, making his most devoted fans piece together just who his girlfriend would be. On one notable live stream, he made these comments.
"I media trained you.
No, you didn't.
That's controversial."
It's controversial of kids.
Really good.
Okay,
It's
bye.
been a good one. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Mwah, 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 mwah. Oh my! Delete everything. Delete everything. Everything goes.
Interestingly, a Discord user by the name of Ponzolo would directly call him out in a message on his server. He would also share some unsavory details about David's behavior behind closed doors, as he directly says he took my little sister's friend to LA to fuck in his house while she's 12. In fact, Ponzolo would try to make this known multiple times on the server. These comments and behavior would later be backed up in a brief made by the prosecutors of the case, which read, "Text exchanges between the victim and the defendant contain references to sex, pregnancy, abortion, and use of the Plan B emergency contraceptive." However, this wasn't the only time that David would be accused of or be caught doing inappropriate things with minors. Apparently, David would pay people off to not reveal his relationship with Celeste to ensure a long-term plan he was hatching up could work. Oh, and many of the people that he paid off were her friends. Obviously, if word got out that such a big-name artist were into underage girls, his entire career would be ruined. Even so, he loved flirting with the truth and almost revealed what he planned on doing multiple times. Scraping together various music videos and the details we already know about him, David was planning the murder of Celeste in due time. Music videos like Romantic Homicide and Rehab specifically felt like deep-seated hatred manifested. Other music videos like One More Dance featured him stuck in a trunk as the victim of a deranged couple. Another video for the song titled Where'd It Go Wrong saw David portraying his death at the hand of a bullet delivered by a girl that, once again, resembled Celeste. The lyrics of that song don't help his case either, as he sings, "And I don't mean to be conceited, but I'm the reason you're still breathing. I'll stop picking up your calls, cause you won't stop screaming." The more we dive into this case, the more it feels like that one Key and Peele sketch.
I ain't counting on it.
Stroke my chin real slow when I'm lying. And I was laughing super hard as Darnell was dying.
While all of this was releasing, a particular interview was published where David made mention that he could actually retire in about 4 years' time, and he'd leave the public eye to live on a remote island somewhere.
Crazy next year.
Why is he saying? Why are you saying that like you're not like up there, gang?
Well, I'm not there yet, but hopefully it's like even crazier next year. And then I'm going crazy year after year for the next 3 years, and then on the 4th year I retire, and on the 5th year I'm off the grid, living somewhere like on an island with this crazy crib, no social media, no digital footprint. I'm just gone. I'm just gone. In 5 years I'm gonna be gone.
Will you still remember me?
Yeah, bro. You'll have like the secret codes to the mansion.
Yeah?
You can pull up on every
What's the secret code? Give us the first 2 numbers.
Absolutely
of the secret.
not.
On an unrelated note, Celeste would have been 18 by that point. Very suspicious. Sadly, while Celeste's family were worried sick of where she could have disappeared to, David demonstrated complete disconnect from his alleged actions. Pre-sale for his world tour began the night of her murder, and the following day he appeared in a radio interview to promote his debut studio album, Withered. A morbid and disgusting title considering everything that's happened. However, something else happened that day that the public did not know about. David ordered a shovel from Home Depot to be delivered to his home via Postmates. Later on May 1st and 5th respectively, he would order 2 chainsaws off of Amazon, a body bag, heavy-duty laundry bags, and a blue inflatable pool, all of which he bought using a fake name. The prosecutors of this case believe that Celeste's body was mutilated that same day, with her body being dismembered and 2 of her fingers being cut off, one of which allegedly had David's name tattooed on it. Ugh. After this, it's alleged that David made multiple trips to the Santa Barbara County area. Whether he did so to dispose of the body in pieces remains to be confirmed by the court. On July 7th, another order was made on Amazon for a burner cage. This would of course be used to incinerate the remaining evidence, except we know that this wouldn't be used to such a degree, because on September 8th, 2025, just a day after she would have turned 15, part of Celeste's body, namely her head and torso, were found in the front truck of a 2023 Tesla Model Y. It was left parked at some random person's address for days, and could even be seen in this innocuous YouTube video driving around LA. The vehicle was, of course, registered to the singer, and what LAPD investigators found was far too graphic to show on YouTube.
The third charge, in addition to lying in wait and for financial gain, is murdering a witness to an investigation. In this particular case, as the evidence will come out in court, the witness to the investigation was Celeste.
The closest thing we've seen to such violence would be something like Dexter, which eerily enough was something David actually really loved in his personal life. Speaking of which, while all of this was happening, David was on tour. But on September 17th, the police executed a search warrant of his Hollywood Hills home. What they found would later be revealed in a court document as evidence inside the garage consistent with the dismemberment of Celeste's body. Additionally, blood samples were found and tested, and wouldn't you know it, it matched her DNA. 2 days after this, David Burke had to cancel the rest of his shows in the US, and his scheduled appearance at the LA Grammy Museum would be removed as well. On September 25th, 2025, Celeste was finally released to her family for a memorial service. After such a long time, she finally made it home. A few days after this, her death certificate would be released. It indicated that the cause of death could not be determined. This was because of the advancement of the body's decomposition and dismemberment. However, in November, when David was finally considered a suspect and brought in for questioning, it would later be ruled in December by the medical examiner that her death was a homicide caused by 2 penetrating injuries to the torso. As the months progressed, January saw David's parents being subpoenaed to testify before a Los Angeles grand jury. While the family fought against this, arguing that they were being denied due process, the Texas appeals court determined that they were required to comply. Honestly, their lack of interest in involving themselves in a murder case where their son is the #1 suspect and the victim is a 14-year-old girl just goes to show that there's something there. The parents behind criminals tend to fall under 2 extremes: horrific abusers or negligent enablers. Dawood and Colleen definitely fall under the latter category. Had they bothered to monitor David's internet access growing up, he might not have become the monster he is today. This brings us to present day. On April 16th, 2026, David was finally arrested and held without bail. 4 days later, he was formally charged with first-degree murder, continuous sexual acts, lewd and lascivious sexual acts with an individual under 14 years old, and mutilating the human remains of a body. And when he made his first appearance in court, he pleaded not guilty. Just let it go, bro, it's over. Additionally, the Los Angeles District Attorney added special circumstances to the charge. This means that his sentencing is eligible for the death penalty. Just 3 days later, when he appeared in front of a court for hearing, the prosecutor made an additional claim that there was, and I quote, a significant amount of CP on his phone. Some sources estimate that it was up to 40 terabytes. You there, add up the storage on all the devices you own. Computers, phones, tablets, game consoles, everything. It's probably not even 10 terabytes. Yet David has quadruple that, solely dedicated to the most depraved content imaginable. Hell is too kind for this guy. As of the writing of this video, it remains to be seen what the outcome of the trial will be, but what is alarming is how people online have been reacting to the case. More specifically, it's concerning how there's a seemingly small but vocal minority of people who are defending David and claiming that he was framed. Of course, this is all on TikTok, so nobody is thinking straight. The For You page and its consequences have been a disaster for the human race. Thankfully though, it seems like the majority of people who've taken to different social media sites are all as appalled as you and I are right now. His streaming numbers have been on a brutal decline. Some have called for his music to be removed altogether, though seeing as other disgraced artists are still listenable, this is unlikely to happen. Additionally, David's record label, Interscope Records, stopped all their promotional activities regarding him and severed ties with him. He was set to appear on the Spilt Milk 2025 festival lineup, but in the wake of the revelations, he was dropped. Ice skater Alyssa Liu announced she'd change her routine, which previously involved a song David was featured in. Additionally, artists like Kali Uchis, Leve, Holly Humberstone, and The Kid Laroi all pulled collaborative songs that featured him. Damiano David re-released his album Funny Little Fears to rework the collab track Tangerine to be solo. EA Sports quietly patched the song What Are You Waiting For out of Madden NFL 26. And Epic Games erased any last trace of David content from Fortnite, even issuing refunds to those who purchased his items. The last 2 nails in the coffin were his YouTube channel getting completely demonetized and his TikTok account getting banned. banned. While the latter could prove to damage the case since there were plenty of videos there that could be used against him, the prosecutors remain confident in the case they've built thus far. As it stands, his career is already in shambles, and even in the 0.00001% chance he walks free, the damage to his image and brand is already done. From being a rising star and someone who is just about to reach the immense success and fame he always dreamed of ever since he started out as a YouTuber, to becoming one of the most reviled celebrities in history. And it all happened when his career was just getting started. The ego and overconfidence got to him hard, and this is the result of that. While his legal team believes that they have a chance at clearing his name, more evidence continues to come out that cements that.
Guilty! That is guilty!
So the only thing left to do is wait.